Big spoilers coming up ahead, you're going to see a lot of bosses dying in just a matter of seconds with how dumb strong this build is. So if you want to decimate everything in the game yourself, just keep watching. So starting off with the weapons, we're going to grab the big old Queen's Head hammer. It's got a B+ scaling in Inferno and an A- in strength, which honestly does sound kind of bad, but I'm still able to get the hammer to over 1000 attack power, not to mention I'm hitting for like 2000 damage on a charged up heavy attack. So yeah. It's pretty nice. It's been really good for clearing out the weaker guys in one hit, but I feel like that's a must-have thing for like every massive or heavy weapon. Like, if I have to take 3 years to swing this building size of a weapon, you better drop when I make contact. That's all I'm saying. And when it comes to the bigger guys, obviously it's going to take a few more swings, but it still gets the job done relatively easily. Anyways, since this isn't one of my strongest attacks, you could honestly put whatever weapon you have here, just make sure it scales with the Inferno attribute to, like, you know, make it do some actual damage. I'm just showcasing the Queen's Head hammer because I think it's the best weapon for an Inferno build, but I've seen a lot of people dual wielding weapons or even using the Fallen Lord's sword, which is a very good secondary pick. I definitely recommend that one too. But for the dual wielding weapons, I don't know why, to me they've never done a lot of damage, but my opinion on them may be a bit biased because I think bigger weapons are always better in every Souls game. Not including magic though, because that stuff is guaranteed busted all the time, like what I'm going to show you later on in this video. But yeah, choose whatever weapon you want. Queen's Head hammer is amazing and you can't really go wrong with it. Moving on to the runes, you're going to want to place the Tyrannix one in the Inferno slot to increase the weapon's fire damage, and this hammer does a lot of fire damage, so try to grab one. In the Strength slot, I placed the Gravix one to increase the physical damage on it. You can grab any rune that says it's going to increase the physical damage because it's not a must-have thing, but every little bit of extra damage does help out, so why not? And for the final slot, you actually have two options here. You can place another Tyrannix rune to get more fire damage, or you can place the Crafter's Essence rune to lower the weapon's requirements down to 0, which is honestly really good if you pick a class that doesn't start with a lot of points in strength, because you need 26 strength to use the hammer, so it's quite the investment, and getting around that with a single rune can save you a lot of levels. But for myself, I did start off with the Werewolf class that has 16 strength, and I also have another method for getting extra levels in strength for free that I'll mention in just a second, but the Crafter's Essence rune is definitely a nice little shortcut to using the hammer. Also, it drops the weapon's weight down to 0, so you basically have no weight at all on your character and you can equip some heavier armor while you're at it. Now, that way I mentioned of getting extra strength levels for free is very easy to do. All you need is a shield, preferably a light one like the one I'm using, the Shield of Thunder, and you're going to want to place as many Hix runes as you can on it. When you place a Hix rune on the shield, it increases your strength by 3 levels. So in theory, if you can get at least 3 of them, that's an extra 9 levels in strength. In my situation, I wasn't able to get 3 slots on my shield for it. Even just having 2 of them is still really helpful, and for that 3rd slot, I just placed another rune that does the same thing, increasing my strength level. Not as effective as the Hix one, but the Hilvit one I'm using gives me 2 levels in strength, which still isn't even that bad. So in total, I got 8 levels in strength for free by just having a shield, and not even using it either, like just having it on my back at all times still gives me those buffs. Well, regardless if you choose to go the shield route or spending some extra levels in strength, one thing that is definitely needed for the setup are the spells. So the first one I like to use for more regular situations, like just getting rid of the basic guys that I come across everywhere, is Lava Orb. It doesn't consume that much mana, making it perfect for regular use, and the damage is also really good. I've been able to get around 1300 to 1400 with a single fireball, but the best part about it is your character actually lobs it. Most of the other ranged attacks in this game, you kind of just throw them straight out and they'll usually end up hitting a small wall in front of you, or they'll just drop over the distance and miss entirely. But since he arcs it, it's got really good range and accuracy. It's just a good all-around spell. And to make it as effective as possible, you're going to want to use these exact rings and pendants. And don't worry, I am going to have some backup options in case you can't get get them, because there's nothing worse than missing pieces to a puzzle or parts to a build that allows you to nuke people. But anyways, for the pendant, you're going to want to grab the Hysteria pendant. It increases all spell damage by 20%, no downsides to it or anything. But on the odd chance that you can't get this, using Rogar's Delight is another alternative. It increases all fire damage by 10%. Not only are the spells going to do more damage, but our massive hammer as well. So that one's actually pretty good. Then for the rings, grabbing the Barrage Root Ring is going to increase our spell damage by 20% again, for the exchange of a single spell slot. Not that I need many anyways, the 3 that I use can solo the game easily. And for the other ring slot, I threw on another Barrage Root Ring to get another 20% damage boost, but since the only way to get a second one of these is by doing a whole nother playthrough, using Passant's Ring is another decent backup choice. It increases all spell damage by 10% without having to lose any spell slots. Now getting back to the spells themselves, Lava Orb was great for taking out some of the regular guys, but I found Seismic Hammer was phenomenal for killing all the bigger guys and even bosses. It does anywhere between 2 to 4 times the damage of Lava Orb and costs around 2 times as much mana. If it didn't cost so much, there'd be no point into even having Lava Orb in the first place, but this spell is completely overkill for the regular enemies. On the bigger guys and bosses though, not so much, and that's where this spell kinda sits, like right in the middle of cost effective and damage. You could definitely use it against the strongest guys and get away with it, the damage is just unreal. But if you truly want to nuke bosses, you're gonna need the spell Cataclysm. This thing is on a new level of destruction. You rain down a bunch of fireballs, dealing massive amounts of damage on whoever you're locked onto. This here costs the most mana, but also deals the most damage, so this is something you want to save on the really strong guys like the Ruiner, for example, massive demon looking monster, or on bosses. And the way I maximize the damage is with the help of the Umbral lamp. I don't know why a lot of people don't ever use this. It's such a good piece of utility that you just always have on you, like why not take advantage of it? But regardless, the Umbral eyes we're going to use are the Eye of Lorello the Cursed Knight in the primary slot to increase the stun's duration. But honestly, you don't need this one because the attacks do so much damage, you'll kill whoever you're hitting almost instantly. But this does make it a lot easier to use. Your choice. And the most important ones you'll need are the Eye of the Pale Butcher and the Eye of Olerin in the secondary slot. They both increase the damage you do to a Soul Flayed enemy by 25% each, so 50% in total. I'm still not sure if this is a bug or if this is just how those Umbral eyes work, but when you enter the undead form and you do the combo of soul flaying an enemy and hitting them with a spell, it multiplies the damage by crazy amounts, and that's how I'm able to one-shot bosses with ease. I'm not saying this build depends on that, because it definitely doesn't. The spells are still overpowered even without it, but it is something worth adding though. Continuing on, before I get into the stats, let's take a look at the armor. So since I didn't use the Crafter's Essence rune on the hammer I'm using, I have to bear all of its weight, which is kind of annoying. It just forces me to wear lighter armor so I can still be able to fast roll, but if you use the Crafter's Essence, you'll be able to put on some heavier armor for better protection, more importantly, more variety for a better look. I don't think I did too bad in that department with the Ravager's Helm comboed with the Neophyte garb? What is this, the Matrix or something? The Neophyte? It kind of looks like the clothes he wore in the Matrix, so it's not bad actually. And then the Skin Stealer sleeves for the gloves and the Overseer trousers for the legs. Most of the armor is a mix of light, medium, and heavy, just so I could barely fit in the medium weight category. Again, I keep forgetting to mention the catalyst I'm using when I'm talking about the spells, but the best one you can grab is Cephezia's? Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Cephezia's Catalyst. It's got an S scaling when it's maxed out, so try to grab this one if you can. Now onto the stats. So the bare minimum needed is 26 strength and 30 Inferno to use all the weapons and spells. As I mentioned before, there's two ways to get around the 26 strength requirement, by using either a shield with the Hicks runes on it or by placing the Crafter's Essence rune on the hammer. After you've reached the bare minimum, you'll want to focus heavily into Inferno to increase your damage and Vitality for health. I'd recommend doing for every 2 levels you put into Inferno, you put 1 into Vitality for a nice balance of health and damage. Well, thanks for watching everyone, and be sure to check out my other build videos. See ya!